independent.
Hello and welcome viewers, I'm Pia and you're watching Gulf Today on NewsX World, and here are the headlines this hour. Israel has confirmed that Gaza has returned the remains of Lieutenant Haydar Golden, who was killed in 2014. Forensic experts have verified the identification, and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has stated that the long-awaited return brings closure to Golden's family. Kushner, senior advisor to US President Donald Trump, has arrived in Israel to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He's set to discuss the implementation of Trump's 20-point plan aimed at ending the conflict. Turkey is working to secure the safe passage of 200 civilians trapped in tunnels in Gaza following the return of Lieutenant Haydar Golden's remains. This comes as mediators strive to uphold the month-long Israel-Hamas ceasefire. The World Bank has backed a US-drafted United Nations resolution to establish a 2-year transitional authority, the Board of Peace, to oversee Gaza's $70 billion reconstruction plan. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun has told US officials that his government is tackling money laundering and terror financing. This comes days after Washington imposed sanctions on 3 Hezbollah members. Iran faces an unprecedented drought as Tehran's reservoirs run dangerously low. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has warned that water rationing may be needed and evacuation could become necessary. US senators reach a bipartisan deal to resume federal funding, ending a record 40-day government shutdown. The stopgap agreement funds operations through January, resolving disputes over healthcare subsidies, food benefits, and federal employee firings. BBC Director General Tim Davie and new CEO Deborah Turnis have resigned after facing backlash over a documentary that edited US President Donald Trump's speech, misrepresenting his words on the Capitol riots. Well, viewers, those are the headlines and our top focus. Kushner, former senior advisor to US President Donald Trump, arrived in Israel for talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Kushner is in Israel to discuss the implementation of Trump's 20-point plan aimed at ending the ongoing Gaza conflict. The plan itself, which was announced in September, began with a ceasefire on the 10th of October and the release of hostages held by Hamas. Since then, which was a month ago, 20 living hostages and the remains of 24 deceased hostages have been returned. Now, the next phase of the plan involves the establishment of a multinational force to take over security in Gaza, though Israeli officials have made it clear that there will be no Turkish troops on the ground. As Kushner now meets with Netanyahu, discussions are expected to center around the future of Gaza security and the broader geopolitical implications of the war itself. With us on the broadcast is Major General Sudhakarji, Senior Geopolitical and Strategic Defense Expert. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. There are, of course, a lot of issues that are still unresolved, including the disarmament of Hamas as well as the withdrawal of Israeli troops from the Gaza Strip itself. In your expectations, are these likely to feature in the discussions? Because what's also going on the side is the formation of a multinational task force in order to monitor the redevelopment of Gaza, something that the IDF has in fact asserted should not involve Turkish troops.
Yeah, good afternoon, Pia. Thank you. Thank you for getting me for your show. Well, talks could include anything to make the 20-point peace proposal effective and successful. And whether it will take place in near time frame or may take long time is a matter which the time will tell us. But all I would say is that at least some beginning has been made, and it will keep passing through ups and downs, and there will be ceasefire violation. But whatever commitment has been made, we must, the global organizations and also the global bodies, they must put their acts together to pursue the matter to the earnest and to the hilt. They must take it to a logical conclusion. I'm glad that issues like uh, the mortal remains of deceased soldiers of 2014 are coming to light. Those like issues also, they have um, demonstrated for past 11 years. Finally, I think one body is coming back. So similar things must take place. Number two point you have made is about the Board of Peace. The Board of Peace is going to be a very long drawn affair, and I suppose it has already reached the World Bank. It is there in United Nations General Assembly under scrutiny and deliberations. And to make it successful, a lot of things have to be chip chopped, may have to be added also. There was an objection with regard to the Turkish forces, which Israel doesn't appreciate and doesn't accept. So, such like issues will go through a process of acceptance and rejection. So, I think we should do well by keeping it open ended. And third and last point that you're asking is the disarmament of the Hamas. Well, this is going to be the catch 22 situation because there are no quick solutions. Hamas have a point because till date the United Nations has not accepted them as terrorists. They are a freedom struggle movement, liberation of their Palestine, and Israel is taking them as terrorists. US has branded them as terrorists. Some of the European countries have also branded them as terrorists. Under these circumstances, the disarmament of the Hamas, how is it going to take place? I don't know. Yesterday I saw in the open media, Pia, that while these processes and efforts are on, Israel has started actually raising some kind of a non-state actor to make sure that they destroy, they decimate Hamas to the last man and the last round. No tunnels will be existing, no infrastructure, no command and control. So some kind of a non-state actors, four of them under different names, are under raging by the Israelis. And how much will they be able to deliver is something which time will say. Back to you, Pia.
Indeed, sir, requesting you to stay on with us as we're tracking some further updates. The World Bank has now expressed support for a US-drafted UN Security Council resolution that would establish a 2-year transitional authority, namely the International Board of Peace, to oversee the reconstruction of Gaza as well as the recovery of the enclave. World Bank President Ajay Banga has stated that the proposed body would give the bank the mandate needed to coordinate with international partners and manage a donor-funded trust for rebuilding efforts. He has in fact penned a letter to US Ambassador Mike Waltz on this issue. The draft resolution also authorizes a 2-year international stabilization force to ensure security as part of the next phase of US President Donald Trump's peace plan for Gaza. This, of course, follows the ceasefire and hostage release deal between Israel and Hamas that was inked on the 10th of October. The World Bank, the United Nations and the European Union all estimate that Gaza's reconstruction could cost, in fact, about 70 billion US dollars. The United States has emphasized that it hopes to bring the resolution to a vote within weeks with support from Egypt, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey and the United Arab Emirates. Still with us on the broadcast is Major General Sudhakar Ji, senior geopolitical expert. The US, of course, drafted this UNSC resolution a couple of days back, and it seems that the World Bank is now also backing this. We've seen several Arab states in the Gulf as well, including, as I mentioned earlier, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Qatar, Turkey. All of them have come out and backed this resolution as well. The estimated cost is $70 billion. I want to understand from you, what are the concerns that the United States has, the Arab states have, and Israel has as far as this plan is concerned?
Okay, I'll tackle them one by one from the reverse order. Firstly, I'll say about the Israel. Israel, the bottom line and the top line is that they do not want any Palestinian, any place to be given to the Palestinian in Middle East. That is the requirement of Israel. They want to decimate, they want to destroy Hamas. The concern, as far as Israelis are concerned, are that another 7th October 2023 is going to collapse the very existence of the nation state called Israel. Because the people of Israel are also fed up. The Palestinians are, as it is, they're fed up and frustrated. So this is number one concern. Number two concern of Arab is key. Arabians, they have been demanding that there has to be two-nation theory. Now, two-nation theory does not exist in the mind or heart and soul of Israel. They do not accept, nor will they accept in times ahead. So where do you bring a solution of middle path? Now come to the USA. USA, the president, at least there is one man sticking his head out in the global order today. For the sake of peace, he had assured his constituency during election campaigning and that he would bring Russia-Ukraine war to an end or ceasefire, some kind of a halt within 24 hours. It has not happened, but he's trying his best. As far as Middle East is concerned, at least he has proposed, he has initiated a 20-point peace proposal. The phase one exchange of prisoners and the hostages have taken place. There are some more which will take place. But the point of concern is that are Hamas going to disarm themselves? Because if the Hamas do not disarm, my latest statistics indicate that at the beginning of, let's say, 7th October 2023, the Hamas were 38,000. The numbers had gone up to 45,000. They have lost around 15,000 odd Hamas. They've died. So the balance around 15 odd thousand are still alive. Plus there are 12,000. At places you will find 8,000 to 9,000, but I'm giving the devil the due, 12,000 to 15,000 more. So the figure has come back to, if not 38,000, around 30,000 again. Yeah, 100% tunnels have not been destroyed. Around, people claim 80%, but I give the devil, the Hamas, the due. It is very difficult to destroy the tunnels. I say more than 50% tunnels are still there intact. And third and most important thing is the arms, weapon, and the warlike stores. I would give them that benefit of doubt. They have 50% and the supply chain management of the weapons, ammunition, logistics, warlike stores is still intact. And
Yes.
last but not the least is the money laundering or the money supply, which is keeping the entire ecosystem of Hamas alive and the support system extending from Iran. And there are many countries in the world who are supporting the Hamas for the cause for which they are fighting. It is still on. So has the world body, whoever is looking at, have they been able to identify the ecosystem where they can choke the Hamas? The financial transactions is the main core issue on which they must focus. And I don't think till date anybody, neither in USA nor in United Nations, nor the Israelis, they have actually focused on the issue. That is because, Pia, we need to understand Hamas was the creation. It was created by none other than the Israel itself so that they could undermine the rising status or PLO becoming stronger and stronger by the day. And both the entities, they wanted to keep them separated and divided so that they don't come to a convergence platform of demanding two-state nation. So therefore, my summary statement in response to your question is that the concerns are well understood, but is anything going or making any headway progressively towards final resolution of the problem? The final resolution of the problem has not been enunciated anywhere in the 20-point peace proposal.
Yes.
It is not talking about the two-nation theory. It is very tacitly, very briefly, indirectly hinting at there may be a possibility of two-nation theory. Now, people from Gaza, when they get dislocated, when the rebuilding plan takes place, you are saying 70 billion has been identified is the requirement. Where are these people going to stay? Is there any place selected? Are they going to go to Jordan or Egypt? Or which place are they going to be accommodated? Are the Arabic countries prepared to accept these people? So these are the issues which are the matters of concern, which by and by I am hopeful and optimistic that some solution would be actually coming our way. Back to you, Pia.
Indeed, so requesting you to stay on with us. We're tracking some breaking updates coming in at the moment as far as this plan is concerned. We're now learning that a senior UAE official has confirmed that the United Arab Emirates is unlikely to join the proposed international stabilization force for Gaza. In fact, presidential advisor Anwar Gargash has emphasized that the UAE does not see a clear framework for this mission, and under these circumstances will probably not participate. These remarks were made during a forum in Abu Dhabi. Major General Sudhakarji is still with us on the broadcast. We all know that the UAE is party to the Abraham Accords. In that context, with this statement now coming forth, how is this likely to influence the sort of consensus we've been seeing from regional Gulf Arab states in the backing of the US's plan?
Doubtful. Priya, very important and very significant question you have raised. Must compliment you and the channel editorial committee. This is where the main crux is. The current proposal of 20-point peace plan and followed by one of the components is the stabilization force, and you have board of peace, etc., etc. You see, there are very prominent deficiencies. One of the prominent deficiencies is that what the United Arab Emirates has actually raised the point. You see, the issue here is now the Hamas, their demand is what? Their demand is that the Israelis, they must vacate the occupied territories. Which are the occupied territories? People need to understand the Gaza must be vacated. Have they vacated? No.
No.
Till some date in October, 53% of Gaza was under occupation of Israeli forces. Okay, they have not vacated. Which is the second place? Is the West Bank. West Bank is supposed to be handed over completely to Palestinians. Okay, they have the Fatah party, their PLO is existing. Instead of handing over, they have gone in for an incremental, developing the settlement, Israeli settlements. The numbers are rising. I am told there are many towns and there are many cities which are coming up in West Bank. What is the size of the West Bank? West Bank is around 130 to 140 kilometers north-south. By 30 to 65 kilometers west-east. This is the size. In this small size, the West Bank should have been, as per the bottom line demand is that as per 1967,
Yes.
the border should be drawn, which is the third place. Third place is the East Jerusalem. Now, is Israel vacating the places? No. We will not talk about the one which is of Syria, that is Golan Heights. It's done and dusted. I don't think America and Israel will give it back to them. So you take it that because it is overlooking Damascus, it has to be within artillery range. The Jordan River actually originates from there. So likewise, it's a very dominant feature. I don't think Golan Heights is going to be given back. So let's forget about that. But these three locations that I have spelled out, are Israelis and Americans prepared to make any negotiations or compromise and hand over these places? I don't think so. The answer is not so quick. And UAE has rightfully raised the objection or the point, Abraham Accord will come about. What is Abraham Accord? Abraham Accord is bringing the Arabic nation and Israel together. The flags of each other mutually should be flying in the respective land or the soil. So therefore, is it anywhere close by? Those four countries, if you had Morocco, you had, I think, Bahrain,
Yes.
you had UAE, and you had Sudan. These are the four countries, I think they have signed the Abraham Accord. Beyond that, I don't visualize anybody would be signing now because the issues have become very complex. Hamas are becoming determined. They are not prepared to actually disarm their weapons until unless the sovereignty of Palestine is assured and two-nation theory is guaranteed and the security guarantee is given by some meaningful, substantive and credible organization and nation. That is not going to happen in an easy way. It will take a lot of time. We need to have patience and we need to have statesman type, leadership qualities to actually sacrifice, make that compromising kind of a give and take kind of an option so that some early solution is achieved between all the multiple stakeholders. Back to you, Pia.
Absolutely, sir. With that, I'd like to thank you for taking out time and sharing your analysis with us on NewsX World. We're tracking more updates. We're now learning that a senior Turkish official has stated that Turkey is working to secure the safe passage of around 200 civilians trapped in tunnels in Gaza as part of ongoing efforts to uphold the fragile month-old ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Now, this announcement has come shortly after Israel confirmed that it received the remains of Haydar Golden, who was an Israeli soldier killed during the 2014 Gaza war, following the handover by the Red Cross. Now, according to the Turkish official, Ankara has successfully facilitated the return of Golden's remains to Israel after 11 years. describing the move as the result of intensive mediation reflecting Hamas's commitment to the ceasefire. Turkey, who is a signatory to last month's US brokered truce, maintains close ties with Hamas officials. It has repeatedly criticized Israel's military campaign in Gaza. The official has added that Ankara remains engaged in humanitarian coordination to ensure both the protection of civilians and the preservation of the ceasefire. Amid renewed tensions around the Israeli-held Rafah area, where Hamas fighters have refused to surrender as well. Joining us on the broadcast now is Dr. Wael Awad. He's a Middle East affairs expert joining us from New Delhi. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. We've recently seen some statements coming in from the Israeli Prime Minister with regards to Heather Golden's remains now returning. He stated that this is a landmark moment for the country, but Turkey has played a very crucial role in facilitating the return of the soldiers' remains who perished more than 10 years back. In that context, do you think that Turkey now has some leverage over Israel, especially in light of recent statements and recent assertions by the IDF that they will not allow Turkish troops on the ground, despite Donald Trump sitting with Erdogan in Sharm el-Sheikh and signing that document?
Well, absolutely. I think everybody knows that Turkey and Israel have a very cordial relation, despite the fact that Turkish rhetoric has been on the air, that they have been supporting openly Hamas and supporting the Palestinian cause. But when it comes to the relation with Israel, even the opposition parties in Turkey have been accusing the government that they not even cut any sort of a supply to the Israeli government throughout the 2 years of the genocide in Gaza. So having said that, I would say that they have been playing a major role in facilitating the release of all the hostages, of Israelis hostages held by Hamas. They have the leverage over Hamas. They have the leverage being the center of the Muslim Brotherhood organizations. So Turkey, Erdogan has been fostering his relation with the Muslim Brotherhood ever since he took charge of president of Turkey. So I think he has the upper hand, yes. And the point here, there are 200, as per Israeli sources, they said these are 200 of Hamas fighters who have been held in the tunnels where they were found that body, and they give it to the Israelis. That 2014 you were mentioning about the Israeli soldier who was killed that time, and they kept his body. So the Israelis now are negotiating that they do not want these people to leave unless maybe Turkey take all of them together. That safe passage can happen. But I think now we're having Kushner and Witkoff are from the United States are coming, and Kushner already in Tel Aviv, and Witkoff will be coming, the special envoy of the U.S. will be coming to the region for the reason to make sure that the second phase of these truce and the ceasefire should be implemented. So I don't think that Israel will be in a position to negotiate much with the American pressure. Now it's on them.
Indeed, you've spoken of the rhetoric by Erdogan and the fact that what he does sometimes clashes with that as well. I wanted to understand from you, in your assessment, how could this then impact him domestically? As you pointed out, there has been considerable criticism that has been mounted by opposition parties, but how could the Turkish public at large then react to this?
Well, I think in general, the public, his supporters are still believe that he is the leaders who can take Turkey, emerge Turkey as a regional power and a power to reckon with within the region. No doubt that Turkey have the geopolitical strategy importance for the United States, for Russia, for the rest of the world, including Israel. But I think with the development in Syria and the fight which was between between Israel and Iran, or the influence over Syria. Now we have Turkey is the factor, is a fight between Turkey and Israel over the control of Syria, and who can chop maximum size of the territories to its own benefit. So I think Turkey government at this stage is very much in cooperation with the United States, with the Israelis, in terms of reaching some kind of a bargaining chips. Like they speak of the Kurdish PKK that they wanted to dismantle. They will remove them from the border of Syria. They're sending them to Iraq and all these places. So that's also an indication that he wanted to gain popularity. He's using the cards of the Kurdish parties, which is banned in Turkey, the one fighting them, the PKK.
Yes.
And also he's using the Hamas as a leverage also for showing that he's still an Islamic leader and he can take the cause of the Palestinian to the top of his agenda. But I think domestically, people are still feeling that he is losing control and he's losing influence because of his gagging of the media and jailing of the opposition and the academicians in Turkey. And I think Turkey will be next in the Israeli and the American radar for turbulence within Turkey.
All right, so requesting you to stay on with us as we're tracking more news, this time from Lebanon. Lebanon has now reported an Israeli strike which has targeted a car in the Sidon area in the southern part of the country. Lebanese authorities have condemned the attack, calling it a violation of national sovereignty, and have warned that such actions could escalate regional hostilities. Remember, since the November 2024 ceasefire in Lebanon, the IDF have reported killing more than 330 Hezbollah operatives in a series of airstrikes and ground operations. The IDF has stated that hundreds of Hezbollah targets have been hit and over 1,000 raids have been conducted in southern Lebanon in response to ceasefire violations by the terror group. Meanwhile, Lebanese President Joseph Aoun has told U.S. officials that his government is actively tackling money laundering and the financing of terrorism following Washington sanctions on 3 Hezbollah members. The sanctioned trio is accused of moving tens of millions of dollars from Iran through cash-based money exchange businesses. A U.S. delegation led by Senior Counterterrorism Director Sebastian Gorka visited Beirut to coordinate efforts to cut off Iran-backed Hezbollah funding and support Lebanon's drive to disarm the group. Now, according to the U.S. Treasury, since January 2025, Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps have transferred over $1 billion to Hezbollah, mostly via money exchanges. Aoun has told the delegation that Lebanon strictly enforces measures to prevent financial crimes and punishes violations severely. Deputy Director John Hurley emphasized that Lebanon can only become free, secure and prosperous if Hezbollah is fully disarmed and cut off from Iranian control. Officials, meanwhile, have discussed partnering to stop Iran's financial flow and create a safer Lebanon. Still with us on the broadcast is Dr. Wael Awad. There's a lot to unpack over here. Multiple pieces of information coming in. I'd like to address the strikes that have taken place at the outset. We've seen a barrage of Israeli strikes take place despite the ceasefire, that deal that was reached last year itself. The ceasefire deal called for the disarmament of Hezbollah. It also called for the withdrawal of Israeli forces from southern Lebanon. Both have not been achieved up until date. What do you think is the future course of action? We've seen the Americans trying to exercise some sort of and pressurize the Lebanese government in order to push forward with the first of the clauses at the very least.
Well, let me put it for you straightforward. This is not a terror organization in Lebanon that we've been talked in the foreign media. I mean, the narrative is just to tarnish the image of the resistance forces, which is namely the Hezbollah, which is taking the lead in Lebanon in fighting against Israeli occupation and have been in the side with the Hamas and with the Palestinian during the crisis and during the war. So Israel have taken a full advantage of the UN Security Council Resolution 1701, which they have signed the truce and they have agreed for the ceasefire and that there should be dismantling of Hezbollah according to the UN Security Council. And there was all the decision taking. So now Lebanon for the last 1 year have been, or the last 6 months have been abiding by the resolution in terms and the true spirit, even the truce with the Israeli. Even the Prime Minister and the President of Lebanon have said it in many occasions that this is the situation. But we have more than 2,500 violations of Israelis against this truce. There is 1,500 attack on the territories. They have already demolished many villages in the south of Lebanon, and they are putting conditions for the Lebanon. It's not only the dismantling of Hezbollah, which they don't share it with you on the media. The point they are raising here, they don't want any presence of any Lebanese in the southern villages of Lebanon. They wanted to occupy that part of Lebanon, turn it into no military zone, no human being zone, because they wanted to reach to the Litani River. As much as they have annexed part of the Syrian Golan and also the Syrian the Jabal al-Sheikh, we call it Harmon Mountain, which is the source of the water in that region. Similarly, they are doing in Lebanon. So it's not the dismantling. This is just an eyewash because Israel wanted to reoccupy the south of Lebanon. That is the ambition of the Israelis, to have the full control on the water supply on this region so they can blackmail these countries in the future and they can force them to be expelled or migrate from those parts of the world where Israel can take full control of the Middle East and the great Israel, which they have now openly saying it, with the Prime Minister Netanyahu saying it, whether he's Smotrich or Ben-Gvir, all of them are saying in the same manner, in the same tone, that the greater of Israel existed from Sinai Peninsula to Euphrates, which means Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Sinai Peninsula, and 1/3 of Saudi Arabia. If that is the plan where they are having, then I think Lebanon will head for more fighting with the Israelis. As Lebanese army said, we are ready to dismantle if Israel also abide by the resolution and abide by the agreement. But if not, it is just violation. I don't see any near future to happen. Look what's happening in Palestine. Actually, the whole ceasefire of the Gaza Strip was approached when American giving undeclared commitment to Israel to continue its annexation of this West Bank and also to take on Hezbollah in Lebanon. So I think Lebanon is heading for more trouble with Israeli aggression, preparing for a war against Lebanon also.
Indeed, to add to what you've stated, in fact, there was a statement that had come out from a senior Lebanese army leader, one of the generals, who had stated that this is a bid by Israel to deliberately delay the deployment of the Lebanese army to southern Lebanon. At the same time, we are seeing a very interesting statement that was passed by Tom Barak, U.S. Special Envoy to Syria, who is of Lebanese origin. He recently branded the Lebanese government as a failed government. This, of course, is in light of the fact that the ceasefire conditions have not been met. What do you make of his statements and this rhetoric from the United States?
Well, look, at the United States now want to justify Israel attacking any Arab country. Israel have attacked till so far 10 capitals regionally. Last was the attack on Doha, where they have attacked, even if it is an American, custodian or an American under American custody is Qatar. The problem is that the American envoy himself does not believe that these Arab countries have seriously been his countries. He's declaring them as a states created by the colonial power, Sykes-Picot, 100 years ago, and then now they have to. Israel have the upper hand of extending their hand anywhere they want. So I think the Lebanese government, if we remember, if you go throughout the history, and your viewers should also learn about it, that the civil war in Lebanon in the 70s, it was the Syrian army who intervened along with the Arab League forces from the Arab countries to stop the civil war in Lebanon. And Taif agreement in Saudi Arabia was agreed that they have shared power. So it is the most sectarian democracy in the world is called Lebanon, where you will have the president is a Maronite Christian, where the prime minister will be a Sunni, where the head of the parliament is a Shia, and so on and so forth. That's how they divide the system and the ministerial cabinet on their country. But still, to say that they enjoy democracy, they enjoy their presence, even Hezbollah have a party, have a representative, have a minister in the government. All this have been doing. Why? Because that is the way they have been surviving. Now, if he speaks that it is a failed state because they wanted this government only to dismantle Hezbollah, nothing else, because Israel giving him the dictation, America, as our late President Hafez al-Assad, when he met with Bill Clinton, and he gave him a letter from Israel, he said, since when America is a postman for Israel? Israel is dictating the term for the United States, what they want from Lebanon. So this envoy, Kushner, Woodcock, all of them are nothing but a stooge of the Israeli government, what they wanted to implement in the region. And that is what we are facing, unfortunately.
Indeed, and there seems to be a deadlock as far as this is concerned. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Vailavat, for taking out time and, of course, presenting your analysis to us on NewsX World. Viewers, due to paucity of time, it's a wrap on Gulf today. We will continue to track these developments very, very closely. In the meantime, we're dipping into a quick short break.